Out of the great city of Baltimore, the National Prayer Breakfast. This is always a great event every year. They invite many people to get up and speak. Well, when he stood up with the president right by his side, just two people down, he started talking about limited government. They had the president come in, get ready, took his seat, and then there's the good doctor. Dr. Benjamin Carson talks about limited government. Now watch the president.
Thank you. Our deficit is a big problem. Think about it. And our national debt, $16.5 trillion. You think that's not a lot of money? Tell you what, count one number per second. One number per second. You know how long it would take you to count the 16 trillion? 507,000 years. You make $10 billion, you put in $1 billion. You make $10, you put in $1. Of course, you got to get rid of the loopholes. Some people say, well, that's not fair because it doesn't hurt the guy who made $10 billion as much as the guy who made 10. Where does it say you have to hurt the guy? He just put $1 billion in the pot. You know, we don't need to hurt him.
He made the point that our tax code is inscrutable to many people and that if you got rid of the loopholes, it would be easier. And he said, you know, people talk about how hard it is to change the tax code. The Bible had a good suggestion for it. It's called tithing.
10%.
And so that's where he was talking about the 10%.
That's right. And on Hannity last night, Dr. Carson explained where his own views came from. It came from his upbringing. Here's his explanation.
Making contributions to medicine provide hope for people suffering
single-parent home, dire poverty, poor self-esteem, horrible temper. These things tend to preclude success, and they would have in my case also. But my mother, who had only a third-grade education, refused to be a victim. That was the key. She never felt sorry for herself, and that was a good thing. But the problem was she never felt sorry for us either. So, you know, there was never an excuse that we could give that was good enough. And if we gave an excuse, she would come out with a poem called Yourself to Blame. And after a while, we just stopped looking for excuses. But she worked as a domestic, 2 and 3 jobs at a time, because she didn't want to be on welfare. Even though she only had a third-grade education, she was very observant. And she noticed that no one she ever saw go on welfare came off of it.
I'd like to meet him.
Well, your wish is my command. Tomorrow we have him on the show, yeah.
This guy's life and his positions are just a living refutation to the entire Obama program. This guy's a star. You are going to see a lot more of him. I just read his remarks, which I would recommend to any of our viewers to read. Here's just one of them. He said, political correctness is dangerous because this country's founding principles were freedom of thought and freedom of expression. PC muzzles people. At the same time, it keeps people from discussing important issues while the fabric of this country is being changed. Truer words, not spoken. I mean, my guess is a year from now, he will he will not just be a pediatric neurosurgeon, he will be in some way involved in the national political conversation.
He is wildly accomplished. Just to tell you a little bit more about him. You heard him say, he was poverty-stricken, grew up in inner-city Detroit with, as you said, he said, a poor mom who had to work many jobs. He then he became a professor in neurosurgery, plastic surgery, oncology, and pediatrics. He works at Johns Hopkins, obviously one of the most renowned hospitals in the world. And he's a pediatric neurosurgeon. You were saying that he became well known because he separates Siamese twins.
Yes, internationally.
Phenomenal.
Yes, in fact, I think for free. He's flown all over Africa to do it. Tanzania and a bunch of other countries. No, he is a cutting-edge surgeon. This guy's not, the kind of doctor who's got a PhD in poetry. He's like an actual doctor and a very impressive guy.
That's all great, but I can juggle.